Hey guys, this is Pam, sometimes also known as Lady Digger in PA, and I haven't been getting too many responses on my videos. I do metal detecting, treasure hunting, thrifting, bottle digging, and I'm kind of disappointed. One of my goals was to get enough, and maybe Garrett machine, with their metal detectors, would let me promote their machines, but that hasn't happened and probably won't. I'm not young and sexy. I'm not anything spectacular, I guess. I'm a 62-year-old woman, and I don't know that people are all that interested in seeing the 62-year-old woman limp around swinging a metal detector. Oh god. Anyway, I'm starting blogging now, and that's what some of these videos are going to be. It's going to just be a story of my life, actually. And again, that's not all that exciting either. But I figured that if I share who I am, what I do, just daily life in general, thoughts, feelings, and all that kind of thing, maybe some of you out there will be interested. Maybe you'll be inspired to do your own blogging and do videos as well, sharing your life. Well, here goes. I'm not going to focus on myself. I'll just I'll talk. You can listen if you will be willing to, and I'll just start out talking a little bit about myself and about things that go on. Okay. Thank you. Well, I've got my dog in here. She's like my best buddy. Can't find her. She's on the other side of the bed. Her name is Zoe, and she's been a lifesaver. I've had her for 5 years now. No, longer than that. Almost 6 years. I had a dog attacked by a neighbor's dog and killed. A liver and white Dalmatian named Sparky. And he was 10. And I was devastated. It was one of the most horrific experiences that I've ever had to encounter. My husband and I went out there and tried to get this neighbor dog, it was like 2 in the morning, off of our dog. He was literally ripping his throat apart, or trying to, and we couldn't get him to move. We couldn't get them to budge. It was horrible. Well, anyway, finally I went over there frantic, got the neighbor. He came over, got his dog. Meanwhile, my dog, who was about half the size of his and about twice or more the age of his dog was a youngster. Mine was like, I think I said 10 years old. Got Sparky cleaned up. The back deck walls of the house were just like covered with splatters of blood. It was horrible. Got him in, tried to clean him up. Got him on a his doggy bed in the back room of the house, and just didn't know what to do. I'd never gotten him in the car. I learned a lot since then, and if I had been able to get him in the car, I probably would have taken him to the vet, and I would have made the neighbor go with me, since his dog was the one that did the damage. Although I know he had no money, so I don't know how that would have all kind of worked out or not worked out. Well, anyway, so the next day I called the neighbor. His name's Paul, and I said to him, I'm going to take Sparky to the vet. He said he'll go along. He also offered later to clean the back room of my house, the carpet, which was covered with blood from Sparky's wounds. Well, anyway, my husband drove. I was in the passenger seat. Paul was in the back. Sparky was in the very back. We lifted him on a blanket and got him into the car. And about 10 minutes before we reached the vet's office, he took his last breath. I was devastated. For months, I had post-traumatic symptoms. I would take a shower, and all I could see is my dog just bloody. It was just the most horrific experience. The most helpless feeling, not being able to do anything. And so anyway, short time thereafter, I had been involved on social media. MySpace was the big thing at that time, right before Facebook. And I was on there, and I met, this was Facebook, I met some friends that had Dalmatians. I joined Dalmatian groups and things like that online. And one of my friends said he had or knew of a dog that needed a home. Would I be interested? And she was 2.5 years old. Her name was Zoe. She was black and white. And the person who had bought her from the breeder couldn't keep her because his dog, or his girlfriend's dog, didn't get along with her, and he had her spayed, which we wasn't supposed to do because she was supposed to be used as a show dog, and he broke the agreement. Long story short, they had her flown from Texas to the Philadelphia airport. My oldest son, Bob, and his girlfriend, Christine, picked her up, brought her here. And it really wasn't love at first sight, because later in the evening, she was laying on the sofa, and I went over to just pet her, and she growled and bared her teeth at me. I figured she hated me. Oh God, it was horrible. I felt so sad and defeated, and I couldn't believe that this dog of my dreams, because she was beautiful, a little overweight, but she was beautiful and soft as velvet, hated me. Same thing happened the next morning. I put her in her crate, the one that she had come from Texas and been flown in the airplane in. And I went out to get her out in the morning, and she did the same thing. Growled at me, showed her teeth, and I, quite frankly, was afraid to go near her. So I called my husband. He was able to go, no problem, and I started giving her treats, and from that day on, she never had another episode of doing that to me. So I don't know what that was all about, but anyway, we got used to each other. She became my best friend, and got me through a lot of depression issues in my life. That's a whole other subject here. But this dog literally saved my life. Let me see if I can get a good picture of her here. Zoe, hey, yo. She's chewing a bone on the other side of the bed. Here she is. This is my Zoe. This is my mommy Zoe, right? Well, anyways, I don't know how good this is going to come out. Maybe my blogging and my photography here will get better as time goes on. But anyway, I'm in my bedroom right now. I need to put the sheets on the bed. I washed them today. And get back on the bed and do my thing here. Keep talking. Oh, this thing here. This is an old-fashioned, well, I guess you'd call it old-fashioned phone. It was from the 50s and 60s, and it was the one that was in my parents' house I grew up with. That phone caused me a lot of grief, I'll tell you that much. I remember putting it in a towel, because, you know, when you dial on it, it's got the... It's not like the phones of today. It's not quiet. Well, anyway, I would put a towel underneath it and around it, and I would slowly, one by one, dial my friend, my boyfriend, or whatever. My parents were so strict about that kind of thing. They hated me being on the phone long. And even at one point, they got a phone, put it on the wall in the kitchen, of all places, for my sister and I. Well, of course, we couldn't hang on it long. And it had a lock in it, so we couldn't make calls. Now, talk about stupid. That was it. My sister hardly ever made calls, except maybe to get together with her girlfriend up the road or something. Or down the road. She had one up the road and down the road. For me, I would say I was more of a social butterfly. That sounds very vain, but I always had things to do, and especially when I got to dating age. I had boyfriends and stuff. And, well, anyway, that's a story on that phone. It was quite a sore subject when I was a teenager. Alright, a little bit about me. Just this first blog here. I see I'm into about 10 minutes of it right now. I don't want to bore you too long, so I'll just share a little bit about my life, where I came from, and then we'll continue another time tomorrow. I'm going to try to do this every day. I apologize for the ugly pictures of myself in the beginning, but I need to get a shower. I've been out working, so forgive me for not looking like a fashion plate, honestly. In fact, I just realized that my bra strap's showing, or my sports bra strap's showing. Oh well, that's, like I said, I'm 62 years old, I've been out working, I've had a busy day here, and you're not going to see a beauty queen. I'm not dolled up to be a beauty queen right now. I don't have makeup on, I don't have jewelry on, I'm just here doing this before I get my shower for the night. Alright, about me. I was born May 29th, 1955, at Abington Hospital in southeastern Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia. I don't know a whole lot about that because I don't remember. I really don't remember. Obviously, I was a baby, so how am I going to remember? The mother who bore me, her name was Evelyn Nadine Largent was her maiden name. Brazier was her married name. She had 2 children before me, and then she had me, and she got married years down the line and had another child. Well, she gave me up for adoption, but she did name me, and so she must have had some contact, physically contact with me when I was born. It's not like she just turned me away, but I know she had problems in her life anyway with alcoholism. She was Native American, and for whatever the reason, she had a depression and a drinking problem. Apparently she was a really good woman though. But anyways, she gave me up for adoption, and at a couple days old, a family who I call my parents today, Stanley and Evelyn Kitzelman, brought me into their home. And they gave me a really good home, good life, probably better than my birth mother could have done with the problems she had. And they changed my name from Marilyn Sue, which was on my birth certificate, and I found that out later on when I sent for a adoptive birth certificate. At that point I was in my 20s when I was able to do that search and find out who my birth mother really was. Prior to that, I had no idea. But anyways, I did have a good life. I really did. I have fond memories of my parents who raised me. They adopted another little girl 4 years later, different parents, or different mother. I don't know who was, she didn't want to find out who her parents were, but I was always curious. But anyways, my dad was a great dad until I became a teenager, and he and I clashed and butted heads. He liked to lecture. My dad was this really, really good spokesperson. He was involved in insurance. He owned the business that was his father's. He was one of those old-fashioned people that went out and met with his customers at their workplace or home and talked to them. And he was just really good at that kind of thing. He had the gift of gab, as I would call it. And he and I did a lot of fun things together. We went fishing. He taught me the love of history. We went to battlefields, historic places. He got me involved with an archaeologist, and we looked for dinosaur bones. Did an excavation at a veterinarian's colonial home. outside of Doylestown, Pennsylvania, and I really enjoyed that. I wanted to be an archaeologist. My mom was a good mother. She was a stay-at-home mom, even though she had a college degree. She stayed home to raise my sister and I, and she was a good mom. She always prepared good meals. She always, she did sewing. She was really talented that way. So sometimes she'd make our clothes, make things for us. She always could repair things. Not like me. I can't sew. I'm lucky if I can put a button on. She was a good mom. As far as being real affectionate, she wasn't really affectionate. Her mom was, though. My Nana. My Nana loved me. And that's one person in my life I always knew loved me. I treated her badly. I did a lot of stupid stuff as a teenager, a lot of stealing, a lot of lying, a lot of things like that. I never got into drugs. I never got into alcohol. I never drank. I never did any kind of smoking or any of that kind of stuff. I think I tried pot maybe 3 or 4 times. I didn't really like it. I never tried any other drugs because I was always the kind of person that didn't want to feel like I was out of control. And to do drugs to me was being out of control. Well, as I said, I had the best of, I'd say the best of everything. I didn't get everything handed to me, but my life didn't lack. It really didn't lack. And I'm thankful for that. I think a lot of the goals that I was at and things in my life and a lot of the attributes that I have now with my own grandchildren, I learned from modeling after my grandmother, my Nana. That was my mom's mom. And my granddad was a good grandfather too. He did things with me and showed interest. But again, I go back and I know I beat myself up about it, but I did a lot of stupid things. I was rebellious as anything. I mouthed off. I didn't pay attention in school. For the most part, other than English or creative writing, I really didn't care about other subjects. And I wasn't a super student because of it. I was always told that I didn't work up to my potential, and I have to tend to agree. So as far as my life, it's been okay. I've got some things, you know, that have pulled me down. I have some insecurities. I have a lot of analyzations of myself that probably aren't even correct. Right now I'm hurting a lot because 5 years ago my mother and sister, and they said my father, but I don't believe it, he died 4 years ago, going on 5 years now, decided they didn't want to talk to me anymore, and they were cutting me out of their lives and cutting me out of the will. I don't know why they've done this, because the things I did when I was younger, we still had a relationship, and those things were done years before. And parents, you would think, would forgive. I love my children. My children have done things, and I forgave them, and I love them to death, and I would never count them out of my life. Life's too short to do that, and you're going to have regrets. So I've tried everything to get all my mother's forgiveness and graces and all of that. I talked to my dad, who my mother wouldn't let me see. My dad had dementia. In the last few years of his life, it got pretty bad, and eventually my mom had to put him in a nursing home. I wanted to go visit him, and my mother said I couldn't. So I sent a friend, and she talked to my dad about God and about me, and I did talk on the phone to my dad until my mom stopped that too. And our last conversation was in July. The following March, my dad passed away. And I told him that I loved him, and he told me that he loved me. That was the last time I ever spoke to him. And you know something? Every single day of my life I miss him. I remember the last few years of his life before my mom took away his cell phone. Dad was so thrilled to have a cell phone and be able to call people and not have to pay. You know, every time you make a call, it was just a flat, you know how cell phones work, rate that he paid, and he could call anybody. So he would call me on the phone and he'd say, "Hey, how's everything up on the top of the hill?" Because we live up in the mountains, the endless mountains of Pennsylvania, like almost 3 hours away from where my parents lived. And I remember thinking, because Dad, again, he had dementia, so sometimes he would do things that were a little odd, and he called me, and sometimes I would think, oh God, it's Dad again, you know, because you had caller ID on the phone or whatever, and I'm like, oh gosh, why has he got to call me again? And I remember thinking to myself, you know something, Pam, one day he's not going to call, and you're going to miss him, and you're going to wish he did. And I really do miss those times. I wish I'd kept a recording of one of the times that he'd called and left a message. My mom and dad and my sister, because she ended up living at home due to a bad marriage situation and divorce, a really ugly divorce, on my birthday they would call up and sing happy birthday to me, and that was really, really special. And I wish I had kept that recording, or one of those recordings also. I miss my parents, I miss my dad, I miss talking to my mom, I miss my sister. Anyway, that's a little bit about who I am, and you know, what's going on in my life. Maybe you'll find it interesting. If not, skip on over, and you know, you don't have to listen and watch. So folks, I'll be back again soon. Thank you for taking the time here, and Lady Digger and Pam, or whoever you want to call me, I'm signing off now. God bless you all. Bye bye now.